Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Aftertaste LA. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Vlad.
And this week, we're going to be discussing our meal at Lasita in Chinatown, Los Angeles. Lasita is a Filipino rotisserie and natural wine bar. The chef is Nico de Leon. In 2017, the same restaurant actually opened as Lasa, which was a tasting menu version of the same restaurant. And in 2021, they converted to a more casual, modern Filipino restaurant. They were on the Bon Appetit 50 Best Restaurants list in 2022 and are currently on the LA Times 101 list.
All right.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Cute place.
Super cute. I love the color scheme. It feels really fun.
Yeah.
Feels modern and cool, but not pretentious. I felt it was very welcoming. And so were the people.
Absolutely. Like from the jump, you're greeted. It was really, lively and vibrant person. Super excited to see us.
Yeah.
We were excited to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in the outside dining area looked very, very happy. A nice little patio.
Yes.
Love their orange and blues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me happy.
Yeah. Made me excited to go inside and see what it's all about.
Yeah.
Inside the restaurant, I thought it was pretty awesome, very inviting. The music was great, and it was the perfect volume the whole time. A lot of wine all around.
Yeah.
I love seeing all the wine.
So much wine, and it was cozy and not formal. Like there were wine fridges every so often against random walls, which, you just feel like you're in the house of someone who just freaking loves wine and has so much wine, and they have so much they don't even know where to put it. So it's things pop up here and there.
Exactly. And the seating wasn't the most comfortable I've sat in.
Yes, as someone who
booth
suffers
seats.
from sciatica, it was rough on my body, unfortunately. But it was cute. It was buzzy, but not too loud. There was energy happening, but we could hear each other speak, no problem.
Yeah, the staff looked super happy and busy. It was Friday night. Place got busy, but they seemed to keep together. Sometimes you could see, you could feel the stress in the dining room from the front of the house, and I didn't really feel that way.
Oh, you're saying you could feel that.
You can feel it sometimes.
Feel
I did not feel that way.
Yeah.
And, it's like the middle of the dining room, there's some high top tables, there's communal tables, there's the table we sat in, which is for 4 people. I think there was a whole row of those in the back. All in all, loved the decor. Felt warm inside. Mm-hmm. Felt cozy. Yeah. Minus the wooden booth chairs, which were not so cozy.
Yes, but I would say I'm willing to sit on those booths again in order to have this meal that we are about to describe to you.
Before we get into the food, we'll talk about the wine a little bit. We had some wine. They have a great by the glass list. They have the Sam is walking around, beverage director, kind of giving recommendations. Someone that we ate with knew nothing about wine, called the beverage director over, gave him a little bit of I like, sour. I don't want anything too full body. He came back with 2 samples and made sure, to give him a great choice. And it's great. I think that I love a place that does natural wine.
Yes, me too.
And you wouldn't think that it would go well with Filipino food, and it is perfect for Filipino food.
I think also they put a premium on having a full selection of reds, whites, skin contact,
which
and
we love.
Rosés. So no matter what kind of wine you love, and I also, and this is why my first drink was a skin contact. Mm-hmm. I had a feeling that would go really nicely with the richness of Filipino cuisine. Yeah. And it worked fantastically. And by percentage of the menu, they probably have the biggest orange wine selection proportionately that I've ever seen on a menu.
You're talking about the full wine list?
Yeah, I mean, it was at least 25% of the offerings, which is a lot. Usually you have 1 or 2 orange wines to choose from, and That's it.
That's true. And I'm an orange wine lover. I always order it. I did have one. It was great. I also had a chilled red that was on a special. I don't know why it was on a special. They probably had a case that they're trying to get rid of. But it was great. Really tart.
I had their branding on it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I stand corrected.
So they seem to be involved in some way of the making of it.
Well, they love their wine.
Yeah.
They also had the calamansi juice on the menu, being Filipino, and you ordered that.
I did, and it was delicious. I love calamansi, and it was basically a calamansi lemonade and no notes. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Speaking of calamansi, what are we drinking?
So we are drinking a drink of my own concoction that is inspired by the verbena, the off-menu extra selection at the Chandelier Bar at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas.
Which we love.
Which we adore. The main elements are calamansi juice and a yuzu syrup that I got from the specialty food store, as well as tequila. And I just put
best part.
a hit of lychee syrup in just for some sweetness.
Well, it's delicious.
Thank you.
And calamansi, just the aroma you get from calamansi is fantastic.
Yeah.
I wish we could get it in stores more regularly. It's kind of hard to find and painstaking to juice. We found out, it takes about like 100 calamansis to get a pint of juice.
Yeah.
But it is...
And they're about this big. So
yeah.
You've juiced them with 3 fingers.
Worth it.
Very worth it.
Very tart, though. The syrup that you added, the lychee syrup, really helps. This is a delicious drink. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So, let's talk about the menu as a whole. So, the menu's pretty small. They have a little snack section. They have some small plates, some salads, some shareables, and then they have their rotisserie section, which is kind of what you go for, and a couple of sides. Mm-hmm. And we ordered, I want to say 75% of the menu. we ordered heavy. We wanted to try all the rotisserie.
We also went with a party of 4 people.
Yeah, which I think is perfect for this restaurant. You can go with 2 people, but you're going to be limited because the portion sizes were pretty decent.
Yes.
If you order more than 2 of the rotisseries and there's 2 of you, you're gonna have a hard time. So, and we didn't finish everything.
No, but we did good work.
Yeah, and I like that the way that they formatted the menu. There are some classics, there's some salads, and the server did a really good job of describing that all to us, giving his favorites. I would say very happy with the meal. Started off with these shrimp chips, which were a lovely snack to have while you're waiting. You have the wine. They were tangy. They had some tamarind powder on them.
I really liked the tamarind powder.
Yeah. I think as far as shrimp chips go, I don't have too many, but the tamarind really helped because oftentimes they're just like really salty.
Yeah.
Or really sweet and salty. And these were not that. These were, kind of salty, sweet, sour.
More balanced.
Yeah. Great. Kind of opens up your palate. Mm-hmm. And then we ordered one of the salads. We're suckers for tomato salad.
And this one I was especially a sucker for because I love hollandaise on anything. And that was an element of this salad, which I've certainly, that's not a normal
I've never seen hollandaise.
Thing.
I've never seen hollandaise on a salad.
Yeah.
B, I've never seen hollandaise on tomatoes like this. Like I've had it on, an Eggs Benedict.
Sure.
It worked. The
great.
Little croutons. It was almost like an Eggs Benedict salad. You had,
and you even had
some croutons there.
There were fish sauce cured egg yolk.
Right.
So even leaning into that, it's kind of hollandaise Benedict-y with the egg yolk in there as well.
Yeah, I'd say this is like a great brunch dish.
Oh yeah.
Give me like some smoked salmon on this or something. I'm all for it.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And this was one of the things, right, that our server pointed out specifically.
Yeah, and it's so unique. It's not your everyday tomato salad that's on every menu in LA.
And that's what I really appreciated about it.
Yeah.
They took an ingredient that is on every menu in LA right now because it's tomato season. Tomatoes are delicious. And they took it to a new place where that blew my mind. That opened my mind. The flavor profile of this dish reminded me more of the Michelin starred tasting menus that we've had.
Yeah.
Rather than just some random Filipino restaurant. Like having this experience was so elevated.
Yeah, I think dishes like this show that they clearly have some fine dining roots. Mm-hmm. They executed well. The fish sauce egg yolk was a really nice touch. And I also know that they peeled the tomatoes, which is also one of those things it's kind of a pain. You don't need to do it, but it really shows that you care and you want to make sure everyone's having a great time with these ingredients. The hollandaise, too, was really light. It was a little frothy almost. I wonder if they're doing it in like an ISI whipped cream canister. That didn't seem like it was like a super thick, like Eggs Benedict hollandaise. It was a little light and airy, which was nice. And the croutons were a great textural touch. The one thing about this salad that I would change is there was a bunch of sweated white onions, and it was a lot. It was a little too much for me.
There were a lot.
And they were a little big.
Yeah.
So one note, I think if you are not really into onions, this might not be for you. Otherwise, I think that you can't leave without having it.
Yeah.
Next thing we had, which was one of my favorite things, was this longanita sausage. It was delicious. The bite where you have the little pepper and the tomato aioli and a little of the sausage together was perfection. I almost want this like a whole sausage on a bun, eat it like a bratwurst. It's delicious. A little sweet, not too spicy.
Yeah.
Usually longanitas sometimes can be a bit spicy, and I kind of wanted a little bit more heat. The pepper helped with that. And that aioli was fantastic.
This is why I wish they were open for lunch. I would love to have this as part of a lunch.
Absolutely. Get this with like a side of the rice and just have that be a lunch. I think would be delicious.
And maybe the tomato salad.
Why not? We also got this palabok, which was with sprouted cauliflower.
Instead of noodles is normally what this dish is on top of.
One of the people we ate with is Filipino, and she was, we were asking her about her experience with this type of dish before it came to the table, and she was telling us, it's a noodle dish, and there's usually some kind of shrimp or pork in it. She gave this description, and then when it came to the table, it was not that at all. I think they're going for the flavor profile, but they're trying to make it a bit lighter. They're trying to have a few vegetable dishes because there are no vegetable mains.
Yeah, well, it's going to be hard to find a vegetable main in Filipino cooking.
Yeah, it's definitely a protein-forward restaurant.
Yeah, I mean...
And I am here for it.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, I'm kind of over the cauliflower standing in for carbs, with pizza crust, with noodles, whatever. I'm just over it. They're not anything close.
Right. If you're a vegetarian and you're coming here with friends, this would be great. You're going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah.
I thought it needed a little bit of acidity.
I agree.
It was a bit rich. The sauce they had was like a kind of an egg yolky type of sauce, and I think it needed a little bit more punch. Otherwise, though, it was cooked well. I love sprouting cauliflower usually.
Yeah, me too.
I thought that I'd probably skip it next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that it was bad. It's just so many other things were so delicious.
Yeah, for sure. The noodles we had next. This pancit noodles were delicious. It's kind of like a yakisoba. A lot of fresh herbs on there, and it was garlicky. It was really tasty. I think that because there was no meat on it, it was a little bit boring.
Yeah.
But once you pair it with some of the meat that we got, it was really good. Like, I would eat this for lunch with some of that lechon that we had.
This would be another great lunch dish with the whole table and what we ordered. It was not something we needed.
No.
On top of other things.
Well, we ordered like 75% of the menu, so we probably didn't.
I know, but, the rice was an additive part of it. The pickles were an additive part.
I think here's where I'm at. When you come here, you're either going to get the noodles or the rice, and you got to make a choice. And it depends on what you like. You're not going to be upset if you order this. I wasn't upset about it. But I kind of like the rice a little bit more. I thought it was just a little bit more...
flavorful.
Sure. If you're coming here, you got to make a choice. Rice or noodles. I don't think you need both.
You don't need both.
All right. So Now we come to the rotisserie section.
Yes.
Which was definitely the table's favorite section.
Absolutely.
And this was, I think, the table's favorite thing that we had.
Yeah.
What you come for? Lechon. Lechon, baby.
Show your shirt.
That's right. Dia de los Puercos. It was a really great lechon. The skin was lovely and crispy. The pork was tender. It was fatty. They gave us the proper vinegar it's supposed to come with, that garlic mojo paste, which is like a garlic lover's dream.
Be careful with that. So if you're on a date, make sure you both have it.
Yeah, this is definitely like, if you take someone on a date and they eat that with the garlic paste, you know they're the one.
Yeah.
My move was, you pour a bunch of the vinegar on the piece, slather that garlic on it, eat it with a little bit of the rice. It was perfection. Mm-hmm. And then I also snuck a little bit of that tomato aioli that we kept.
Yes.
It was fantastic. Definitely, this is a can't miss item. If you come here and you don't order this, unless you don't eat pork. We also had the hamachi collar, which was very lovely. Loved the chili threads and the glaze on it.
The chili threads were great, and
Yeah.
I wish that more dishes incorporated them.
I love a collar. I think I'm always going to order the collar. If it was hard to share.
Yeah.
You have to kind of like pick the meat at it. It's a little bit, more challenging
Yeah.
with a group.
But I don't think I'd dock points for that.
No, but something
To be aware
Something
of.
to be aware of.
Yeah.
It is a little bit more difficult to share. Like the pork, they cut that into 4 equal pieces.
And that was very nice.
The chicken was a half chicken. This is a little bit like it's a collar. There's a lot of meat on it, but you got to do a little bit of front end work to get that meat.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's delicious. I thought this was one of my favorite things that we ordered, but just so you know. Then we got the chicken. Every photo I see of this restaurant, the chicken or the lechon is the photo, right? It's what they're known for, the chicken inasal, which is kind of this rotisserie Filipino-style chicken. Seasoned beautifully,
Yes.
cooked really well.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just chicken.
Yeah, totally. But very delicious chicken.
Yeah,
it was so tender when I didn't even need a knife to take the meat off of
Yeah.
it. I could just put my fork in and basically scoop a bite off of it, which tells me that they really tenderized and cooked it really nicely.
And the breast wasn't too dry, which is also sometimes with that, when it's really tender like that, sometimes the breast can be a little bit dry. And that wasn't the case here. They did a really great job. If you don't eat pork, if you don't like fish, this is a solid option.
Absolutely.
And it's a half chicken. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty decent price. I think it was like $26. I can't remember. And, I would skip it next time if you and me are going and just opt for the pork.
I agree.
But if you're with a group, it's a must. If you've never been here before, I'd say it's a standout.
Yeah.
Then we also got the steak, which the person we were eating with, a Filipino woman, she said this was the most traditional plate as far as like what it looked like. This is what it would look like at any other Filipino spot or how you'd eat it at home with these like big onions on top, steak, some juice. And then they had this butter with garlic flour butter, which
I
was
liked that.
very good. I think they put some calamansi and soy on the onions
Yeah.
for a nice touch. For me, the onions are a little big.
Yeah. Well, you don't really love onions
That's fair. A little.
like I do.
That's fair.
I don't mind this. It's just one layer of the onion.
It's like an onion ring without the breading.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the size we're talking about.
I mean, you
here.
have to cut it up. You can't just.
You don't have to. You can go ham all in.
You can, but I think it would heighten your enjoyment if you cut it up.
All right, fair. Yeah, I mean, the meat was good. I thought it was a little bit chewy. A New York strip. It was cooked very well. It was kind of like medium rare, but almost a little rare. They did not ask us how we wanted it cooked, which is interesting. I think a lot of restaurants that don't do that, it says something about the kitchen. It says, like, just trust us. We know what we're doing. This is how we want to serve it. But they didn't tell us that in advance. So if you like your meat more cooked, you're going to have to send it back.
Yeah. Though, I do
We
think
did not
it
send
was
it back.
cooked the appropriate way for this dish.
I agree. And this would pair well with anything. It was a great thing to share.
My favorite thing about this dish was just the flavor of the outside of the beef.
With the char.
That nice char with the sauce. It just combined very nicely for a very flavorful bite.
Yeah, and
Really
they pour the
nice.
sauce tableside, which is, for a restaurant casual like this, is
Yeah.
kind of a nice little touch.
Yeah.
You know, they care. We also, the rice, we got both rice. There was a chicken fat rice and the garlic rice.
Yep.
And we were kind of between which one we should get at the table, and we decided, you know what, screw it, let's get both. Once we had everything else on the table, I could not really tell the difference between the two rice, especially once you had that garlic mojo.
Well, the garlic mojo and a lot of things have chicken, stock or chicken flavors in them anyway.
Yeah.
So both flavored rices kind of just blended into the other flavors of the meal. Not really a knock on the rice. I tasted
No, the rice was delicious.
I tasted it first before I dug into the main courses, and
Yeah,
it was delicious.
sure.
But doesn't
I don't think
matter
you need
so
to get
much which one you get.
You don't need to get both. Honestly, I like the garlic one more just because we love garlic.
Yeah.
And if you're getting the chicken already, there's chicken fat on the skin. Like, you don't need the extra fat.
Yes.
And if you're getting the lechon, you definitely don't need the extra fat.
Yeah.
And I think that they put garlic crispies on the chicken one too.
Yeah.
So it's almost not worth it to spend the extra $1.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is an extra $1, but
I mean, yeah.
yeah. And then the pickled vegetables. You love these pickled vegetables.
I loved these. I love pickles. I love making my own pickles. I love making pickled things.
Yeah.
These are great. The ginger element in the pickles, just delicious. It just elevated what could have been kind of a boring pickle. The sourness was really dialed in very perfectly, and you really need that when you have the dishes like the lechon and the other kind of heavier stuff. Really cuts through the fat very nicely. So I would recommend, no matter what you get at this meal, I would always get the pickles.
I also really love the pickles, and they're super traditional. This is what you get when you eat lechon. You need it. You absolutely need it, and it's a nice big bowl of it.
Yeah, they didn't skimp, and
They do not skimp
really
on.
appreciate that
I think
too.
they're like $5. It's a big bowl of pickles, and it kind of went well with everything. Definitely a must order.
Yes.
Well, that was it for the savory, and somehow we had room for dessert. We got two of the desserts. First one was the halo halo.
I love a halo halo.
Super traditional Filipino, and it's kind of this like...
The dish itself is, but their version is not.
That's
so
true.
much.
Theirs was kind of a coffee flavored
Coffee
version.
flavored. Skip the red beans, which I think is probably a good play
No
for
one likes the red beans.
for a restaurant in an American city.
Yeah. This dish doesn't make any sense to me. It is kind of like everything. The kitchen sink bowl. Like there's flan, there's shaved ice, there's ice cream, there's tapioca,
Yeah.
there's nuts. It shouldn't make sense at all, but it does, and it's amazing.
What I love is it reminds me of being a kid and being at like a buffet or a Thanksgiving
everything
where
on the
you
plate.
just want everything sweet
Yeah.
and you don't really care if it goes together or not. And I love that everyone eats this.
Yeah.
Adults eat it, kids eat it, whatever. I love it.
It was great to share, but also not great to share because you want your own.
Yeah.
You want to kind of like mix all this stuff together.
Yeah, it is hard to share for that. We probably could have convinced our table to do that.
Yeah. Next time I might just get my own.
Yeah.
Although the key lime pie, the calamansi pie,
Which is very
Basically
similar
key
to
lime
a
pie.
key lime pie.
well, calamansi, I like that they put the calamansi in the graham cracker crust. Nice little touch. Really reminded me of Fat and Flour's key lime pie,
Yes.
which we've had at Found Oyster. And, it's delicious and tart and the perfect kind of thing to have after a heavy meal like that. Even though it is, creamy and heavy.
I don't know. It feels very light. It's the
Yeah, it was
cream
kinda
itself
both.
is so airy.
Yeah, and it
Doesn't
was
feel heavy.
good sized piece. Not too much of the
Yeah.
whipped cream on top. It was great. It was great. So, yeah, that was it. That was our meal.
Yeah. Let's talk about the service.
Let's talk about it.
I have nothing but good things to say about the service,
Yeah.
except for one small hiccup. One of our party did order a beer that was forgotten, but quickly remedied when it was pointed out. The things that make me such a fan of the service at this place were two things. First, our server had a fantastic rundown of the menu when we sat down. We didn't even have to ask. He let us know how to order, like what would be smart to order, what people love, and kind of what their hits are.
Right. And what his favorites are.
And what his favorites are. And he had a lot of good knowledge about the menu. And it was actually very concise and impressively concise.
Yeah.
He wasn't standing there for 5 minutes naming random dishes.
Right. It didn't feel... It felt rehearsed, but it felt natural.
Yes.
It didn't feel like he's like reading off a script.
Mm-hmm. Or trying to push something that the chef or the manager asked him to push that day.
Yeah.
You know?
He's telling this probably at every table. Most people that eat here don't have a whole lot of experience with Filipino food. A lot of the names are in, they're Filipino.
Tagalog.
Sorry, what was it?
Tagalog.
I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I'm going to butcher it, but you need explanation. You need to ask questions. We had a Filipino person that we were dining with, so it was helpful after he went away to get a little bit more of an elaborate kind of description and their experience with that dish. I thought that was really, nice.
Right.
But most people aren't going to have that.
Every restaurant is going to do a dish a little differently.
Yeah. Is this going to remind you of how your mom made it or not?
Yeah. And then the other thing and this is my number one thing, with the sausage, it came with the tomato aioli sauce. And when the busser came by to take the plate away from the sausage after we had finished it, he left us the bowl with the tomato aioli without us even having to ask for it. And for me, that is top. I love to use sauces in other dishes in a way that maybe they weren't originally intended, but I think that also speaks to the quality of the vision, the overarching vision for the food. That sauce that goes with one thing can also elevate another dish seamlessly.
Yeah,
and
I use it on my chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
It oftentimes in restaurants you have a near empty plate, like the main stuff on the plate has been eaten, but like there might be some sauce or some garnishes there that you were planning on eating, and someone like snatches that plate before you even notice.
Yeah.
Or they don't ask if you're still enjoying it or if you still
want it. Or you have to go, no, wait.
Right. And then it's kind of awkward. They're kind of, especially if like they've grabbed multiple plates. So yeah, great touch.
Yeah.
We had the hiccup with the beer. It was not our server that took the order. It was someone else. And I guess it was Friday night. It was busy.
It was busy.
I'm going to give them a pass for that.
Yes.
Everything else about the service was great. The greeting with the hostess was really great. She was warm and lovely.
Very much so.
The pacing of the meal was really great. They didn't, bombard us, but they didn't also, take forever. The wine came out forever. It's, they don't have a bar, so they don't have to do a lot of mixed drinks. Pouring wine is quick. That is helpful for them. And it's not a big place, but they don't have a lot of staff. I saw maybe 2 or 3 servers on the floor max for the whole restaurant.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's an all hands on deck type of place.
Yes.
You have managers helping with tables. You have bussers helping with tables. Everyone is doing their part, and that's always great to see. And the staff looked happy.
They did. Busy, but happy.
Yeah, that's how it should be in a well-executed place.
Yeah.
So, the verdict.
The verdict.
How many taste buds? What do you got?
I think it is a solid 3 taste buds for me.
Me too.
I'd be perfectly happy to make the trek down there again to have a meal, especially with a nice group of people so that you can kind of try everything, have a few bites of everything. It was just a great meal.
I also give it a 3. I think that it's absolutely worth the trek, kind of no matter where you are in LA. If you're visiting, you should put it on your list. If you've never had Filipino food, I think this is a solid first choice. It won't get a little higher for me just because I think there's 1 or 2 Filipino restaurants in town. Lechon is a little bit better than theirs, but that's not a knock on theirs at all.
Yeah, it's still very delicious.
One thing that I loved about Lasita is it really epitomizes what an LA restaurant is for me, what LA dining is all about. It's, regional and authentic and doing its own thing, using some of the produce that we have here that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like with the tomato salad.
Yeah.
I just think they executed really, really well. And it's just a real humble place. You didn't feel stuffy. You can go in there with a baseball hat and a t-shirt. You can go in there, dress nice for a date. It kind of is a restaurant for anyone.
Yeah. You'll feel
maybe
at
not
home.
Vegetarians, but
yeah, vegetarian's going to be difficult.
We got plenty of vegetarian restaurants here in LA they can
Yeah.
go to. Yeah, so 3 taste buds, I think, is the verdict.
Yep.
Make the trek. Go see it.
Yes. That's all for this week, folks. See you on the next one.
Bye-bye.